Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. Day 2 of Dolphins free agency is in the books. And the Dolphins signed a couple of savvy vets for the old bob and weave defense, which I think this one later today had gotten a lot of fans excited. Jordan Poyer, former Bills safety, former All-Pro. He has signed a 1-year, $2 million contract with the Miami Dolphins. He is going to get his chance to play for the Miami Dolphins. This is interesting because we talked about this a lot last offseason. There was a heavy Dolphins Jordan Poyer flirtation that felt very much like Poyer was trying to put out the bat signal that he wanted to be on the Miami Dolphins. A guy that has said that he is close with Tua Tagovailoa. His family, his wife, I guess, went to FAU. They're South Floridians. And so definitely an interesting tandem and an interesting mate to put next to Javon Holland. They are going to let Deshaun Elliott go. Brandon Jones, of course, went to the Denver Broncos, which was one of those moves. Brandon Jones was a nice player and certainly hellacious getting after the quarterback. But I did not look at that as one of the most insurmountable moves that the Dolphins could get past by not bringing back Brandon Jones. But it has been interesting. The Miami Dolphins, this day really kind of went in their bag of, we're going to get a couple guys with experience and see what they can bring to this table. Some guys that have been in some of the heights. In Shaq Barrett, that was the other guy that they brought in today to help them bring in with the pass rushing. And then you have Jordan Poyer, who's obviously very familiar with the division and with, of course, having this stronghold over the Dolphins in this AFC East. So I think it's interesting bringing in somebody who's been looked upon in a lot of ways as the emotional leader of the Buffalo Bills. And so you bring him in here. I'm very curious. I think it's a great signing for Miami. The idea that you can pick the bones off this Bills team, which, by the way, has been, taken out a lot of their defense as well, and a lot of the names that everybody knows. Yeah, you're not getting somebody who maybe necessarily is in their prime, but he's not old. I mean, this is not a 35-year-old they're bringing in. This is not like the last week of the season where they're scrounging and looking for people who are like my age to go play linebacker for the Miami Dolphins. So I think this is a fun one for Miami. He, told NFL Network's Cam Wolfe that he's coming home. I love this where it said, where Jalen Waddle had said, Poyer and Snowman, crazy duo. I agree. I mean, I think this is a fun player to have next to Javon Holland. I think they could do some interchange. I think you can allow Javon Holland to bring out his skills a little bit more. So I'm excited to see what Weaver can do with them and see what they can bring to the table. And, it's interesting. Tyreek Hill had tweeted out today. It said that the Dolphins having a sneaky, great free agency. And I wouldn't call it great because, again, I think ultimately you sit back here and you're like, hey, you lost Christian Wilkins. You did not get anything for him yet. We don't really know who his replacement is. That's been the biggest thing out of all of this is they've looked at this defensive line and you wonder if this is going to be something fixed in the draft, if there is a sneaky move out there. Is there somebody on the roster who they think can step up? Like, Brandon Peely was kind of like a camp darling for a little bit last year. Do they think that he can be in there? Because Raekwon Davis, by the way, he also is gone. He had signed a 2-year deal with the Indianapolis Colts. So, yeah, you're looking for some new tandems up there, up front, and this defensive line that did not rotate a lot of guys. That was one of the beauties of having Sealer and Christian Wilkins, that they were basically out there for the whole damn game. I don't know where they're going quite yet, but you look at some of the holes that they had to fill, and safety was definitely going to be one of them. So you get rid of, you fix the safety. You got Jalen Ramsey, playing for you on one side. So, you got your corner set. You got your linebackers seemingly set. You have your pass rush Band-Aid in a way with Shaq Barrett coming in here. And he is, I'm sure, going to be looked upon as, hey, these first few months, go crazy. Can you do what I was getting in arguments today with the crew, especially Marcos, as being a big baby about this whole thing. But you remember a couple years back, like Melvin Ingram came in last minute in camp for the Dolphins and had won AFC Defensive Player of the Month. So I don't think it's reasonable to say, hey, Shaq Barrett, can you dial back the clock to 2019 and be that guy? But could you do it for a month? Or, could you do it for 6 weeks while we're trying to get everybody right, especially getting a Bradley Chubb back? It's a little bit more of a mystery with JP. But I like the idea of the Miami Dolphins going to this veteran well, especially, for the pass rush help being a little bit last minute. We've seen it work. And look, Drew Rosenhaus definitely has a stronghold within this front office of the guys that he brings. So, yeah, you're going to that well again. But I kind of agree with Tyreek Hill. If you don't want to call it sneaky great, I think it's sneaky good. Or maybe you just want to call it sneaky. But it hasn't, I think, been the disaster it's been made out to be. They definitely can go out there. And I think I trust this coaching staff to find the replacements for Rob Hunt. I trust the coaching staff to make the necessary moves to have an Aaron Brewer be an effective player and not get Tua killed. And I trust this, we're going to have to see with this new defensive coordinator of what his imprint is going to be on this team. But it was going to probably look a little bit different. It's not going to come back exactly the same. They tried that already. They did that 2 years ago when they had Josh Boyer here, and Josh Boyer was basically run it on back, and it sucked. So you allow this team to have its own identity with its new defense coordinator, and I think Poyer is a great guy and a great leader to have on that side of the football and bring whatever he has left to the squad. So very, very curious to see what it is. I saw that he was in I think he was in Costa Rica or whatever, but he had posted on Instagram he was actually having dolphins swim around him. If that wasn't stock footage that he had, either way, great social media use for him. And it looked beautiful to see with all the dolphins swimming around him. So pretty. So pretty. At peace. But here's the thing that I am curious about. Are the Dolphins going to have to go against a vice presidential candidate in the first few weeks of this season? Because this Aaron Rodgers getting picked by Robert Kennedy Jr. as a VP candidate and having continued, I just got to see it. I have to see what this is going to look like with the idea that the New York Jets had invested everything into Aaron Rodgers. And I can't imagine this is going to be the direction that he goes. But it is a hilarious headline nonetheless, because now it has to be spoken about. Now it cannot just be ignored. But the idea that Aaron Rodgers is actually discussing the idea, high as a kite on ayahuasca. Yeah, I could be a vice president. Like, Randall Cobb is coming in as Secretary of State. Like, that's out. Cobb follows him everywhere. Like, that's just a given. It's like, all right, Robert, I'll take you up on your offer, but Randall Cobb's got to be Secretary of State. And Kennedy's like, done. You got it. Randall Cobb, bringing him in there. It's crazy, man. What a wild times we live in anyway. But yeah, man, we'll see what it is. This has been a tough couple of days because I think the Dolphins has lost a lot of players that they like. Certainly with Wilkins and Van Ginkel, those seems to be the ones that have hit the hardest. Understandable, but I think that for the AVG one, they've done a good job with getting a suitable replacement. I don't know what they're going to do on the D-line yet. I think that's one of those where we got to wait and see what the plan is with the draft, what moves are there for them to go make. And then the other thing that does remain huge here for Miami on the cornerback spot is, they seem like they're going to be, at least right now, like, you're going to need Cam Smith to perform. There is going to be pressure on this young fella coming into this year to be thrown right into the deep end and give Miami something to be productive. But it is interesting seeing all these pieces start to come together